I want to get to the bottom of this with Shedeur, and I wanted you to talk about this in particular because I'm trying to figure out what exactly is happening within the Shedeur discussion. I don't know what's going on with the back problem, and I'm very confused. Monday he's not practicing. Obviously, they're off today. We'll find out what happens on Wednesday. But last Sunday, after the game was done, and again, remember, they just played a game, and he's talking to reporters. I don't know, I don't know who exactly he was talking to in the scrum, but I believe Mary Kay has reported the recounting of it where he makes the reference of how it wasn't his call to be sitting down. It wasn't his call to not be the backup in that Patriots game. I would imagine then.
In other words, he was ready to go even if he wasn't 100%.
Right, and I remember we did the pregame show. I'm here with Coach Riz. We're going through as people that are there are describing what's happening on the field as he's warming up, and he looks all right, and things look good, and then you find out he's not the backup quarterback. And you just have a week where it feels like we got no information. I don't know the status of it. And then he misses Monday's practice. And the whole thing, I don't know what it is, but something just doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah, it feels a little fishy. But here's the other thing, too. Then congratulations to the Browns for the commitment to the bit coming out of the bye week and not having Shedeur practice because of the back. If it's what has been insinuated in some circles, I'm not saying you, Jonathan, but I'm just saying the insinuation out there is that this is a phantom back injury for Shedeur, right? I'm not putting
but I don't really know what to believe one way or another.
I'm just saying the Browns are certainly committed to the bit because they did not have him practice yesterday.
But he gave off the impression that everything was trending in the right direction and it seemed fine, and then he doesn't practice on Monday, and then we don't have any real updates one way or another.
He did fly to see his family, and I want to be very clear because there were some people criticizing that. I have no problem with Shedeur going to see his family during the bye week. Yeah. That's what the bye week's all about.
Right, exactly.
Back injury or no back injury, that's what the bye week is all about. I'm not going to get on that kid for being a human being going to see his family. That to me, non-story. Now, if he's missing practice because he went to see family, okay, there's a little bit of a story there, so long as you're not talking about an ill family member or something like that. You know what I mean?
I do. I just think it's okay if you're sitting there and you're a Shedeur Sanders fan and you're saying something's not right. Something's not adding up. The 1 + 1 isn't equaling 2, and normally I would give the Browns...
Especially when you watch Dillon Gabriel on the field and you're watching what a catastrophe that is, and you're saying, how can... so if Dillon, right, by the Browns metric, if Dillon is so much further ahead than Shedeur, then how... And I'm not bashing Shedeur, but I'm just saying, for the sake of conversation, then how bad is Shedeur?
Well, and that's where they lose me in a lot of ways. But
that's what I'm saying. If Dillon Gabriel is light years ahead, and as far as being ready to play, and he doesn't look like he's ready to play, but that's what the organization keeps feeding us, is that there's this gap between these two quarterbacks. Well, then I have to ask the question: my goodness gracious, how far behind is Shedeur? How bad is Shedeur? Now, what I do find interesting...
Well, they don't even see him play, though. That's part of the problem, too, at this point.
He's not even getting...
How's he supposed to showcase that he's gotten any better when the only time he was practicing was on the practice fields off on the left-hand side, not with the team?
And now that he's Baldwin Wallace.
And now that he's the backup quarterback, he gets to be there in a situation where he famously is not getting any backup reps or any reps at all with the starters because they're all going to Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, because Dillon Gabriel's so terrible, he has to have those reps. I just don't know
how you're supposed to prove yourself. No, but the part that doesn't pass the smell test for me here, and the part that I get a little iffy on, is the idea that the Browns are incredibly cagey when it comes to these injuries. And it took us 9 months to find out what was wrong with Mike Hall Jr.
Yeah.
The man got injured in January. We just found out a month ago what the hell was actually wrong with him.
Yeah. Well, we knew he had the one. We didn't know he had the second one.
Yes, but you see how cagey they are with this stuff, and you see how they're so about misinforming us, and then being so secretive about everything. And with Shedeur, I think you're all right to suggest what exactly is going on here. Why wasn't he practicing yesterday? What happened Sunday where after the game, Shedeur is telling you, I was ready to play, I wanted to play. They're the ones that said, no, you're not playing. What is going on here?
Right. And the other thing too is, no, I don't think that this is a big conspiracy where the Browns spent a 5th round pick on a guy, traded up with Philadelphia to take him, and they're trying to sabotage his career. Let's
that seems dumb too.
Let's not take this to the extreme and get nuts here. All right.
Well, I mean, but it almost is to the point where now I'm trying to go the other direction. Does Shedeur look at what this roster is, and maybe Shedeur is trying to protect himself at this point? You know, he looked at this roster and is like, I guess I'll wait this thing out. Maybe they'll trade me to a different team. Maybe they'll have a better team next year and I can get on the field then. Like, see what's happening with Dillon right now. And I tend to think Shedeur can rise above anything.
Right.
Like, I tend to think he'll be all right no matter whatever situation he finds himself in. But look at this offensive line. Look at these wide receivers. Look how Dillon Gabriel doesn't seem like he has a chance on these Sundays. And that's his talent and his problem. But also, it's not as if the Browns receivers are helping anybody out. Like, I'm at a spot here where I'm almost wondering if Shedeur is almost protecting himself in this equation.
Yeah, it is a little mysterious, and you're right.
Because he doesn't have the same opportunities other people have, Daryl.
Well,
if he goes out there and stinks, the NFL it'll toss him aside like days old Chinese food. Right. They're ready to go ahead and do that for him.
Well, there's kind of part of me, and I want to make sure I say this correctly. The reason I want to watch Shedeur right now is because Dillon Gabriel's so bad, and I can't imagine that Shedeur is going to be much worse. And even if Shedeur is much worse, at least I'm going to be entertained by it. I'm not entertained by Dillon Gabriel. I would rather watch paint dry than watch Dillon Gabriel play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I would rather watch Johnny Manziel come back and play quarterback for the Browns than watch Dillon Gabriel play quarterback for the Browns. I'd rather them activate Deshaun Watson on 2 torn Achilles to come out and play quarterback for the Browns.
I would watch Johnny Manziel's alter egos, his Chad Powers version. Right. I mean, my goodness, I'd watch anything instead of Dillon Gabriel.
Right. I mean, that's where I'm at with Dillon Gabriel. He's that bad. He's all-time bad. And it's like his best start was his first start, Minnesota, in London. He's gotten progressively worse, which, by the way, again, don't profess to be a football savant. I'm not, but I'm here to tell you that's not how it goes. It's supposed to get better the more you play, not worse. And so, you know, if he can't come out and do it against the Jets, he better not be on the field the following week. That's all I have to say. He better go out there and light them up.
I just want to know what's going on here. Something's fishy. Jason Lloyd was on earlier today. He was on the morning show, and he had this to say. I thought it was interesting. Here we go.
There's going to be a 30 for 30 on this Shedeur season with the Browns. There's obviously a lot going on behind the scenes. I think that's pretty evident. Like, I don't think you have to be a crack reporter to figure that out. I do think a play, he kept around this long.
That's not an answer. Come on. When do you think he's going to play?
I don't know, December. There's just a lot of noise, and that's part of the Shedeur experience. There's just a lot of noise all the time.
I mean, at that point, I can't even say that's Shedeur's fault.
Well, you signed up for it, though. You willingly signed up for that. You knew what you were getting into when you made the trade with Philadelphia to make the bet.
But he says a 30 for 30 is going to happen, and there's a lot behind the scenes that we're not privy to. You're there. I'm trying to figure out what exactly we're not privy to that's happening behind the scenes.
And I'm not going to speak for Jason. I love Jason Lloyd.
I just want you to speak for you.
He's one of the best in the business. I think what he's trying to get at is that, to your point, it's not adding up, right? Dillon's so terrible. They're trying to come up with any way not to put Shedeur in a position to where he actually has to go out there and play right now because they don't feel he's ready. Like, I don't buy into this notion that the Browns are trying to sabotage this kid or they're trying to stick it to the kid. Something is obviously going on that the organization isn't 100% thrilled with. To the organization's credit, Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski are grown adults, okay? So you're not seeing stuff leaked to the NFL insiders about things that Shedeur may or may not be doing behind the scenes, okay? And I'm not saying that he is or isn't doing anything behind the scenes. I'm just making the point that we haven't had any negative stories. Whatever is going on, they're keeping it buttoned up and in-house and in the family, and that's fine. But I'm finding it hard to believe as I continue to watch Dillon Gabriel suck the life out of Browns fans every Sunday that he starts, and also the locker room, based on, I don't know, a player or two that might be watching on social media. Like, I find it hard to believe that Shedeur Sanders is that bad. Because that's the message you're sending to me as an organization. Dillon's ready. He's prepared. He's the thinker and all that. Let's put it this way. The 4 starts I've watched Dillon Gabriel don't look a whole hell of a lot of thinking's going on right now.
Yeah, and he's going to have a chance out of the bye week against a team that is waving the white flag. If he doesn't look good,
either going on.
I mean, my goodness. All right, Mary Kay was on earlier today with Baskin and Phelps. We were talking about Shedeur Sanders and just the weirdness around his back injury and everything that's been with him not practicing yesterday. Him saying after the Sunday game that he wanted to play, he wanted to be the backup, but then the Browns didn't have him out there. This was Mary Kay earlier today.
it should be easier for Dillon Gabriel to have some success against teams that are not as fearsome as some of the ones they've played so far, although the Ravens seem to have gotten their act together, and we'll have to see. I mean, I don't think that the Browns necessarily want to be in a position where they're having to start Shedeur Sanders for 7 games. What if it doesn't work out? Then where do you go from there? So I think they want to give Dillon a longer on-ramp, but he's got to, prove that he deserves it as well.
What does that longer on-ramp for you look like?
Yeah, but it's not even that comment. It was the very end when she said he's got to prove that he deserves it as well. Mm-hmm. That's what's most memorable from that quote, not so much the on-ramp. Listen, I have said all along, I don't think you see Shedeur until December, until the Final Four, maybe 5 games. You try and stretch Dillon as long as you can. There is a part of me that thinks that maybe we see Deshaun Watson here for a couple of games as he gets closer. Now, Kevin Stefanski told us yesterday when asked that this is not going to be the week when they designate him to return from IR and start that 21-day clock to either activate him or leave him be done for the season.
Yeah.
Listen, just because they designate him to return from IR does not mean he plays. That just means you're starting that process, that clock, to determine whether or not he can play, to allow him to practice, and then you can kind of take a look. Obviously, too, they don't want to take anything away from Dillon right now when it comes to reps. He's so bad, he needs every rep he can get. Mm-hmm. Now, keep in mind, Joe Flacco was so bad with the Browns offense the first 4 weeks of the season, right? You would agree. Unwatchable offense with Flacco
very
first
bad.
4 weeks,
yeah, very
right?
bad, yeah.
They still found a way to give Dillon Gabriel reps, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They found a way to give Dillon Gabriel meaningful first-team reps in practice. They're not doing the same thing for Shedeur Sanders. And the offense isn't any better. And I got news for you. It ain't getting any better with Tommy Rees calling plays either. If you think that this whole play caller, that's all a mirage. That's all a... what do they call it, Fugazi or whatever? Like, that's all that is.
Fugazi's a term, yes.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's, dangle the shiny object, look here, while the
you
disaster's
think that's a decoy?
going on.
That's a distraction technique?
100%.
They're basically playing 3-card money with us in that regard?
It's not going to get better. I'm here to tell you, I will be stunned if all of a sudden this offense is better because Tommy Rees is calling the plays.
All right, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, too. I know you got a lot of thoughts on that, but I find the whole Shedeur conversation to be very interesting right now. Their handling of it, the back injury, the idea that the Browns just seem like they just never want to be honest with us when it comes to injuries. It just doesn't smell. It doesn't pass the smell test to me. 216-474 below 92. Sam up next on the Fan. What's up, Sam?
Hey guys.
Hey Sam, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
So in 2023, just some background on Shedeur, when he was with Colorado, the last 4 games he played that season, it was very painful to watch. He was constantly going in the locker room at halftime, getting shots in his back, and in the second half. And then we learned in the spring from his brother Bucky with Well-Off Media that Shedeur had a fractured back. Now,
because he missed the season finale that year against Utah, right?
Correct. And he left at the end of the first quarter because of his back. He was just in so much pain, but he's such a tough guy. So when he told Mary Kay that he would be okay, playing in the game, it's probably because he would. If he was starting, he'd be playing every game through any injury.
He's a gamer.
Colorado. Yeah, that's what he does. But my issue is, as a former athlete, I was a big-time athlete as well. I had a pars defect, which is essentially a fractured vertebrae in your back. And so what happens is it's kind of common where 30% of athletes have it, and they'll never heal. So what happens is your muscles around your back, they try to protect the vertebrae because it's broken. And so it's all about core strengthening and all that stuff. Well, Shedeur didn't really have any issues last year that we heard of in anything, but he did have that oblique injury, which does play a role into the core as well in the off season. And so I don't know if it's the back, that same injury from 2023. Like mine's chronic, where I've had it for 10 years. But Shedeur did get a shot last week for his back as well, we learned in Well-Off Media. And the Browns sent Cassandra, who's a PT with the Browns, with Shedeur to travel to Boulder to monitor his progress and his treatment, because there was video clips of him running with the what is that? Like the weightless pool, essentially, where it takes all the weight off you.
Yeah.
He did that at Colorado as well, and Cassandra was there monitoring everything as well. So I think he actually has a real back issue.
Well, it's what's interesting about that, and thanks, Sam. I appreciate the insight.
I mean, I wasn't
right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not questioning the legitimacy of the injury.
No.
But I do think it's fair to ask in the realm of just what's going on with him and the reps he's getting at practice and why he is.
Well, so was he being a gamer? Is that what happened on Sunday when he says he was ready to go and wanted to be the backup, and then they said basically no, we're putting a stop sign on that? Like, that's the part where it loses me. Like Shedeur is.
But here's the thing too. That's what good organizations do when you're looking out for your own player.
Well, they didn't do that with Baker. We got to let the record show. So maybe this is them learning after that. Like, we didn't do it with Baker, so now we're going to try to protect these. I just find it interesting that when it comes to, I don't know, seeming like you're giving less opportunities to Shedeur, now all of a sudden it feels like they're protecting him in a strong way.
I just have never been under the impression that they're
but if you're Shedeur,
sabotaging this kid.
I don't think so either.
I think if anything, they're trying to handle him with kid gloves to make sure that when he does see the field, he has the best opportunity to be successful.
What I'm suggesting is I wonder if Shedeur went back to Colorado and then all of a sudden maybe made the realization that I don't need to push so hard to get on the field for this team with this organization and with those receivers and that offensive line and this situation. Like, I wonder if this was almost
like
Shedeur,
a business decisions being made.
I don't want to call it that, but almost Shedeur looking at it and saying, why am I busting my butt trying to get back on this field, trying to make sure I play these games when I'm looking at Dylan getting destroyed without a chance? And then maybe it's that realization what I talked about earlier. You know, Dylan can stink up the joint, and he'll have another opportunity next season. He'll have another opportunity 2 years down the line. I don't think Shedeur is going to have those same opportunities. If Shedeur,
really?
If Shedeur is treated differently, it's so unfair to him. I think it's patently unfair.
Let's say, can I pause you for a second?
Yeah, sure.
For the sake of discussion, and again, I'm not trying to go negative here, but you brought it up about him not getting another opportunity. Let's say he washes out in Cleveland.
I think if he looks really bad in Cleveland, I think that's the end of Shedeur Sanders in the NFL.
See, I disagree. I think someone will give him a shot.
I think that's why he's got to be really careful about it being his one opportunity that he gets. And I think this is why, if he's being strategic here and really taking care of his body and really taking care of himself, I think it's doing it with the understanding that when he gets in, he has to look really good. It's unfortunate that he's been put in this spot.
I just think
but the NFL world has put him in this spot where they've expected him to either be great or they want to kick him out.
His second opportunity, though, will come with a bad team.
It'll be like this type of situation.
Right.
Where
it'll be the same situation where it's not a good team, not a good situation.
Yeah, you're not in a good spot to deliver. And so I think it's going to be really hard, and I think he knows that. And so there's a part of me that wonders if he's almost protecting himself. Like, if I'm going to get one crack at it, and he'll eventually get one crack, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, he'll get that one crack. But if I'm betting my NFL life, I'm betting it on a better version of a team than this team. That just seems like common sense to me. We'll find out. We'll see. We'll see how cautious he is. Because as Sam mentions, the caller, he was an absolute gamer about everything a couple years ago at the end of that season with Colorado.
He is a tough kid.
He took 52 sacks that year. He got absolutely destroyed by that offensive line.
And he kept playing up.
He was playing with the fractured back, and he was just a gamer about it. Always been incredibly tough. But I wonder if maybe someone in Colorado, when he went back home, was like, "Hey, listen. Now's not the time. This isn't the team you got to kill yourself for. This isn't the team. This isn't the opportunity that you think it is right now. You're going to get one opportunity. When you get that opportunity, you have to make sure you make the most of it. You see these offensive linemen. You see these wide receivers. Dylan Gabriel might not be the world's greatest player, but he doesn't seem like he has a chance out there right now. Maybe we don't fight so hard for this one. Make sure that you're right. And then when you do get the opportunity, you're not doing like you did in the, for example, Rams game. He was battling things the week prior to the Rams game, was playing through what I believe was to be injuries as was. And does any fans really seem like they care about the fact that he was playing through some problems there? No, they just look at the end result. And I feel like the same thing will happen there. The rest of the league, if he plays through an injury, they're not going to care about a back problem. They're going to say, you have to be better. You have to be Shedeur Sanders in this spot. You told us you were something, and then they're going to count it against him. And I think he's smart enough to know that's what's happening. And I think it's very smart of him to be aware of this what's really, I believe, going on.